Berekuet Adonai Amvarak, Barak Adonai Amavarak Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Melech Haolam Asher Bakar Banu Mikol, Amin Vinatan Lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Bless Adonai, who is to be blessed. Blessed is Adonai, who is to be blessed forever and ever. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who chose us from all the peoples and gave to us his Torah. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of Torah. Adonai called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, When any of you presents an offering of cattle to Adonai, you shall choose your offering from the herd or from the flock. If your offering is a burnt offering from the herd, you shall make your offering a male without blemish. You shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting for acceptance in your behalf before Adonai. You shall lay a hand upon the head of the burnt offering, that it may be acceptable in your behalf, in expiation for you. The bull shall be slaughtered before Adonai, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall offer the blood, dashing the blood against all the sides of the altar, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The burnt offering shall be flayed and cut up into sections. The sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire on the altar and lay out wood upon the fire. And Aaron's sons, the priests, shall lay out the sections, with the head and the suit, on the wood that is on the fire upon the altar. Its entrails and legs shall be washed with water, and the priest shall turn the whole into smoke on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. If your offering for a burnt offering is from the flock of sheep or of goats, you shall make your offering a male without blemish. It shall be slaughtered before Adonai on the north side of the altar, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. When it has been cut up into sections, the priest shall lay them out, with the head and the suit on the wood that is on the fire upon the altar. The entrails and the legs shall be washed with water. The priest shall offer up and turn the whole into smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. If your offering to Adonai is a burnt offering of birds, you shall choose your offering from turtle doves or pigeons. The priest shall bring it to the altar, pinch off its head, and turn it into smoke on the altar, and its blood shall be drained out against the side of the altar. Ye shall remove its crops with its contents, and cast it into the place of the ashes at the east side of the altar. The priest shall tear it open by its wings without severing it, and turn it into smoke on the altar upon the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. When a person presents an offering of meal to Adonai, the offering shall be of choice flour. The offerer shall pour oil upon it, lay frankincense on it, and present it to Aaron's sons the priests. The priest shall scoop out of it a handful of its choice flour and oil, as well as all of its frankincense, and this token portion ye shall turn into smoke on the altar, as an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. And the remainder of the meal offering shall be for Aaron and his sons, a most holy portion from Adonai's offerings by fire. When you present an offering of meal baked in the oven, it shall be of choice flour, unleavened cakes with oil mixed in, or unleavened wafers spread with oil. If your offering is a meal offering on a griddle, it shall be of choice flour with oil mixed in, unleavened. Break it into bits and pour oil on it. It is a meal offering. If your offering is a meal offering in a pan, it shall be made of choice flour in the oil. When you present Adonai a meal offering that is made in any of these ways, it shall be brought to the priest, who shall take it up onto the altar. The priest shall remove the token portion from the meal offering and turn it into smoke on the altar as an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. And the remainder of the meal offering shall be for Aaron and his sons, a most holy portion from Adonai offerings by fire. No meal offering that you offer to Adonai shall be made with leaven, for no leaven or honey may be turned into smoke as an offering by fire to Adonai. You may bring them to Adonai as an offering of choice products, but they shall not be offered up on the altar for a pleasing odor. You shall season your every offering of meal with salt. You shall not omit from your meal offering the salt of your covenant with God. With all your offerings, you must offer salt. If you bring a meal offering of first fruits to Adonai, you shall bring new ears parched with fire, grits of the fresh grain, as your meal offering of first fruit. You shall add oil to it and lay frankincense on it. It is a meal offering. And the priest shall turn a token portion of it into smoke, some of the grits and oil, with all of the frankincense, as an offering by fire to Adonai. If your offering is a sacrifice of well-being, if you offer of the herd, whether a male or a female, you shall bring before Adonai one without blemish. You shall lay a hand upon the head of your offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Aaron's sons, the priest, shall dash the blood against all sides of the altar. Then present from the sacrifice of well-being as an offering by fire to Adonai the fat that covers the entrails and all the fat that is about the entrails, the two kidneys and the fat that is on them, that is at the loins, and the protuberance on the liver, which you shall remove with the kidneys. Aaron's sons shall turn these into smoke on the altar, with the burnt offering which is upon the wood that is on the fire, as an offering by fire of pleasing odor to Adonai. And if your offering for a sacrifice of well-being to Adonai is from the flock, whether a male or a female, you shall offer one without blemish. If you present a sheep as your offering, you shall bring it before Adonai, and lay a hand upon the head of your offering. It shall be slaughtered before the tent of meeting, and Aaron's son shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. Then present as an offering by fire to Adonai the fat from the sacrifice of well-being, the whole broad tail which you shall remove close to the backbone, the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat that is about the entrails, the two kidneys and the fat that is on them, that is at the loins, and the protuberance on the liver, which you shall remove with the kidneys. The priest shall turn these into smoke on the altar as food, an offering by fire to Adonai. And if your offering is a goat, you shall bring it before Adonai, and lay a hand upon its head. It shall be slaughtered before the tent of meeting, and Aaron's son shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. Then present as your offering from it, as an offering by fire to Adonai, the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat that is about the entrails, the two kidneys and the fat that is on them, that is at the loins, and the protuberance on the liver, which you shall remove with the kidneys. The priest shall turn these into smoke on the altar as food, an offering by fire of pleasing odor, for all fat is Adonai's. It is a law for all time, throughout the ages, in all your settlements. You must not eat any fat or any blood. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelite people thus: when a person unwittingly incurs guilt in regard to any of Adonai's commandments about the things not to be done and does one of them, if it is the anointed priest who has incurred guilt, so that blame falls upon the people, he shall offer for the sin of which he is guilty a bull of herd without blemish as a sin offering to Adonai. Ye shall bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before Adonai, and lay a hand upon the head of the bull. The bull shall be slaughtered before Adonai. And the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and bring it into the tent of meeting. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle of the blood 7 times before Adonai in front of the curtain of the shrine. The priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of aromatic incense, which is in the tent of meeting, before Adonai. And all the rest of the bull's blood ye shall pour at the base of the altar of burnt offering, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Ye shall remove all the fat from the bull of sin offering, the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat that is about the entrails, the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, that is at the loins, and the protuberance on the liver, which ye shall remove with the kidneys, just as it is removed from the ox of the sacrifice of well-being. The priest shall turn them into smoke on the altar of burnt offering. But the hide of the bull and all its flesh, as well as its heads and legs, its entrails and its dung, all the rest of the bull, ye shall carry to a pure place outside the camp, to the ash heap, and burn it up in a wood fire. It shall be burned on the ash heap. If it is the community leadership of Israel that has heard, and the matter escapes the notice of the congregation, so that they do any of the things which by Adonai's commands ought not to be done, and they have realized guilt, when the sin through which they incurred guilt becomes known, the congregation shall offer a bull of the herd as a sin offering and bring it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the community shall lay their hands upon the head of the bull before Adonai, and the bull shall be slaughtered before Adonai. The anointed priest shall bring some of the blood of the bull into the tent of meeting, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle of it 7 times before Adonai in front of the curtain. Some of the blood he shall put on the horns of the altar, which is before Adonai, in the tent of meeting, and all the rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Ye shall remove all its fat from it and turn it into smoke on the altar. Ye shall do with this bull just as is done with the priest's bull of sin offering. Ye shall do the same with it. The priest shall thus make expiation for them, and they shall be forgiven. Ye shall carry the bull outside the camp, and burn it as ye burned the first bull. It is a sin offering of the congregation. In case it is a chieftain who incurs guilt by doing unwittingly any of the things which by the commandment of his God Adonai ought not to be done, and he realizes guilt, or the sin of which he is guilty is made known, he shall bring as is offering a male goat without blemish. He shall lay a hand upon the goat's head, and it shall be slaughtered at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered before Adonai. It is a sin offering. The priest shall take with its finger some of the blood of the sin offering and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and the rest of its blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering. All its fat he shall turn into smoke on the altar, like the fat of the sacrifice of well-being. The priest shall thus make expiation on his behalf for his son, and he shall be forgiven. If any person from among the populace unwittingly incurs guilt by doing any of the things which by Adonai's commandments ought not to be done, and realizes guilt, or the sin of which one is guilty is made known, That person shall bring a female goat without blemish as an offering for the sin of which that one is guilty. The offerer shall lay a hand upon the head of the sin offering. The sin offering shall be slaughtered at the place of the burnt offering. The priest shall take with its finger some of its blood, and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering. And all the rest of its blood he shall pour out on the base, at the base of the altar. The offerer shall remove all its fat, just as the fat is removed from the sacrifice of well-being, and the priest shall turn it into smoke on the altar for a pleasing odor to Adonai. The priest shall thus make expiation for that person, who shall be forgiven. If the offering one bring as a sin offering is a sheep, that person shall bring a female without blemish. The offerer shall lay a hand upon the head of the sin offering, and it shall be slaughtered as a sin offering at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered. The priest shall take with its finger some of the blood of the sin offering, and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and all the rest of its blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar. And all its fat the offerer shall remove, just as the fat of the sheep of sacrifice of well-being is removed. And this the priest shall turn into smoke on the altar over Adonai's offering by fire. For the sin of which one is guilty, the priest shall thus make expiation on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven. If a person incurs guilt when one has heard a public imprecation, but, although able to testify as having either seen or learned of the matter, has not given information and thus is subject to punishment, or when a person touches any impure thing, be it the carcass of an impure beast, or the carcass of impure cattle, or the carcass of an impure creeping thing, and the fact has escaped notice, and then, being impure, that person realizes guilt, or when one touches human impurity, any such impurity whereby someone becomes impure, and though having known about it, the fact has escaped notice, but later that person realizes guilt, or when a person utters an oath to bad or good purpose, whatever a human being may utter in an oath, and though having known about it, the fact has escaped notice, but later that person realizes guilt in any of these matters. Upon realizing guilt in any of these matters, one shall confess having sinned in that way, and one shall bring as a penalty to Adonai for the sin of which one is guilty, a female from the flock, sheep or goat as sin offering, and the priest shall make expiation for the sin on that person's behalf. But if one means do not suffice for a sheep, that person shall bring to Adonai, as a penalty for that of which one is guilty, 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. The offerer shall bring them to the priest, who shall offer first the bird for the sin offering, pinching its head at the nape without severing it. He shall sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering on the side of the altar, and what remains of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And the second bird he shall prepare as a burnt offering according to regulation. For the sin of which one is guilty, the priest shall thus make expiation on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven. And if one's means do not suffice for 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, that person shall bring as an offering for that of which one is guilty 1/10 of an ephah of choice flour for a sin offering. One shall not add oil to it or lay frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. The offerer shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall scoop out of it a handful as a token portion, and turn it into smoke on the altar. With Adonai's offering by fire, it is a sin offering. For whichever of these sins one is guilty, the priest shall thus make expiation on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven. It shall belong to the priest like the meal offering. And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, when a person commits a trespass, being unwittingly remiss about any of Adonai's sacred things, one shall bring as a penalty to Adonai a ram without blemish from the flock, convertible into payment in silver by the sanctuary weight as a guilt offering. That person shall make restitution for the remission regarding the sacred things, adding a fifth part to it and giving it to the priest. The priest shall make expiation with the ram of the guilt offering on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven. And a person who, without knowing it, sins in regard to any of Adonai's commandments about things not to be done, and then realizes guilt, such a person shall be subject to punishment. That person shall bring to the priest a ram without blemish from the flock, or the equivalent, as a guilt offering. For the error committed unwittingly, the priest shall make expiation on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven. It is a guilt offering. Guilt has been incurred before Adonai. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, when a person sins and commits a trespass against Adonai by dealing deceitfully with another in the matter of a deposit or a pledge, or through robbery, or by defrauding another, or by finding something lost and lying about it, if one swears falsely regarding any of the various things that someone may do and sin thereby, when one has thus sinned and realized guilt, would restore either that which was gotten through robbery or fraud, or the entrusted deposit, or the lost thing that was found, or anything else about which one swore falsely, that person shall repay the principal amount and add a fifth part to it. One shall pay it to its owner upon realizing guilt. Then that person shall bring to the priest, as a penalty to Adonai, a ram without blemish from the flock, or the equivalent, as a guilt offering. The priest shall make expiation before Adonai on behalf of that person, who shall be forgiven for whatever was done to draw blame thereby. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu et Torato, Torat emet, v'chayai olam nata bitochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten ha-Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gave us the Torah of truth and set everlasting life in our midst. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'devarim aneemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai aboker batorah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Israel amo uninvei haemet va'zedek. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has chosen good prophets and was pleased with their words that were uttered with truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, who chooses the Torah and Moses, God's servant, and Israel, God's people, and the prophets of truth and righteousness. Samuel said to Saul, I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. Therefore, listen to the Lord's command. Thus said the Lord of hosts, I am exacting the penalty for what Amalek did to Israel, for the assault he made upon them on the road on their way up from Egypt. Now go, attack Amalek, and proscribe all that belongs to him. Spare no one, but kill alike men and women, infants and sucklings, oxen and sheep, camels and asses. Saul mustered the troops and enrolled them at Telaim, 200,000 men on foot and 10,000 men of Judah. Then Saul advanced as far as the city of Amalek and lay in wait in the wadi. Saul said to the Kenites, Come, Withdraw at once from among the Amalekites, that I may not destroy you along with them. For you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they left Egypt. So the Kenites withdrew from among the Amalekites. Saul destroyed Amalek from Avila all the way to Shur, which is close to Egypt. And he captured King Agag of Amalek alive. He proscribed all the people, putting them to the sword. But Saul and the troops spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the second-born, the lambs, and all else that was of value. They would not proscribe them. They proscribed only what was cheap and worthless. The word of the Lord then came to Samuel. I regret that I made Saul king, for he turned away from me and has not carried out my commands. Samuel was distressed, and he entreated the Lord all night long. Early in the morning, Samuel went to meet Saul. Samuel was told, Saul went to Carmel, where he erected a monument for himself. Then he left and went on down to Gilgal. When Samuel came to Saul, Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have fulfilled the Lord's command. Then what? Demanded Samuel. Is this bleating of sheep in my ears and the lowing of oxen that I hear? Saul answered, They were brought from the Amalekites, for the troops spared the choicest of the sheep and oxen for sacrificing to the Lord their God, and we prescribed the rest. Samuel said to Saul, Stop. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Speak, he replied. And Samuel said, You may look small to yourself, but you are the head of the tribes of Israel. The Lord anointed you king over Israel. And the Lord sent you on a mission, saying, Go and proscribe the sinful Amalekites. Make war on them until you have exterminated them. Why did you disobey the Lord and swoop down on the spoil in defiance of the Lord's will? Saul said to Samuel, But I did obey the Lord. I performed the mission on which the Lord sent me. I captured King Agag of Amalek, and I proscribed Amalek. And the troops took from the spoil some sheep and oxen, the best of what had been prescribed, to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal. But Samuel said, Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as much as in obedience to the Lord's command? Surely, obedience is better than sacrifice, compliance than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, defiance like the iniquity of teraphim. Because you rejected the Lord's command, he has rejected you as king. Saul said to Samuel, I did wrong to transgress the Lord's command and your instructions, but I was afraid of the troops and I yielded to them. Please forgive my offense and come back with me, and I will bow low to the Lord. But Samuel said to Saul, I will not go back with you, for you have rejected the Lord's command, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. As Samuel turned to leave, Saul seized the corner of his robe and tore it. And Samuel said to him, The Lord has this day torn the kingship over Israel away from you, and has given it to another who is worthier than you. Moreover, the glory of Israel does not deceive or change his mind, for he is not human that he should change his mind. But Saul pleaded, I did wrong. Please honor me in the presence of the elders of my people and in the presence of Israel, and come back with me until I have bowed low to the Lord your God. So Samuel followed Saul back, and Saul bowed low to the Lord. Samuel said, Bring forward to me King Agag of Amalek. Agag approached him with faltering lips, and Agag said, bitter death is at hand. Samuel said, As your sword has bereaved women, so shall your mother be bereaved among women. And Samuel cut Agag down before the Lord at Gilgal. Samuel then departed for Ramah, and Saul went up to his home at Gibeah of Saul. Samuel never saw Saul again to the day of his death, but Samuel grieved over Saul because the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zer kol haolamim zadik vekol adoret ahel הנאמן האומר ועושה עם דבר חיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישב רחם כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמם אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, rock of all eternities, righteous in all generations, the faithful God who says and does, who speaks and fulfills, all of whose words are true. Faithful are you, Lord our God, and faithful are your words. Not one of your words turns back unfulfilled, for you, O God, are a faithful and compassionate King. Blessed are you, Lord, the God who is faithful in all his words.